we're all excited for DC fandom. However, I must go ahead and make this address yowie wowie. Because breaking news for the last week, it's been pandemonium at DC Comics. So as part of a big restructuring and due to the whole events that had happened, there with the pandemic, Dan DiDio's termination, there would be a seismic shift, so to speak, going on at DC Comics. DC Comics on August 10th reported by Bleeding Cool that DC Comics staff told about layoffs today, DC Universe first, and this is what the article goes on to first say. Let me just get rid of these annoying tabs. I really don't like ads. Anyways, but ads are sadly essential in some matters to keep a site operating. But anyways, layouts at Warner Bros. have been widely expected over the weekend, and this morning Bleeding Cool learned that this would include DC Comics as well, including editorial staff. Variety has numbered 650 layouts coming from Warner Bros., while HBO is expected to lose up to 170 staffers, topping 800 staffers. These come in the wake of a major overhaul at Warner Bros., led by the new Warner Bros. CEO Jason Keller. Our charge has changed. Have already seen programming leaders Bob Greenbelt, Kevin Riley, and Kev Kozako go as part of an attempt to merge the Warner Media's production operations into one, as Warner Chief Ann Sarnoff and now charged of developing content for HBO Max, their subscription service to take on the sites like to take on Netflix, the WJ Network, all this insane stuff. They have been in an memo to the staff. They were talking about reducing the size of our teams, our layers, and our overall workforce, and that seems to be what's going on right now. And there are a number who expect DC Universe to be absorbed in all this, which might make the upcoming DC fandom event a little awkward. Very awkward. DC Comics did, however, not respond to the inquiries made this morning. In an update, Bleed Cool is being told that the staff were just told that they were being laid off and their position will be eliminated in December. So yeah, here's the memo. If you can see that, I'm gonna give you some moments to read this, but this is kind of amazing of what's going on regarding DC Comics and whatnot. And editorial has been described as going on as a bloodbath right now. And yeah, a lot of people were let go. And oh my god, will these ads go away? Oh my god. Anyways, multiple people have mentioned Mark Doyle, executive editor of the DC Black Label, as an early casualty, which, considering that Black Label, aside from the likes of Last God, remains a strong profit center for DC Comics and comic bookstores, and forward sales especially, but the exposure of Batman Damned still casts a long shadow at the publisher. You know, that incident where we see Batman's thing. So what happened with that is just crazy. So more incidents were going on, like other people were being mentioned, like Bobby Chase, the publishing initiatives and digital strategy, the vice president of global publishing stuff. DC editor Andy Cure was let go. DC senior story editor Brian Cunningham, SVP publishing strategy and support services at DC. Hank Azaria and DC editor-in-chief Bob Harris are also rumored to be laid off. So this is going to be a destructive thing. But because DC recently lost one of the most successful PR people, Courtney Simmons Brown, who persistently left for Amazon Studios and The Lord of the Rings this week, at the time of this document stuff. Without her handle all the situation where there's vacuum of information, gossip floods, and yada yada yada. And yeah, like I said, the DC fandom is coming tomorrow at the time of this video, and now we don't know what the hell's gonna happen. I was waiting for a couple of days to see what the what's going on with this. So as the documents started coming in, Bleed Cool posted the news the comic staffers, along with the rest of Warner Bros., were going to downsizing the staff, and this lists the same people. And also, one of them is that Jim Lee remains CCO and publisher, and is being told that it was transitioning out of the role with the current executive editor of global publishing initiatives and digital strategy at DC Comics, Marin Javis, and vice president and executive editor of DC's Children Young Adult, Michelle Wills, promoted, effectively running publishing and reporting to Jim for now. So here's the thing. This also mentions that certain people will be shuffled around and also laid off. There's more talk on that. Scott Snyder, well, I don't know what's going on with him, but like, yeah, This has been described as the second return of the DC implosion for what followed in the 1970s, when they had like a huge chunk of oversaturation led to, well, the cancellation of 40% of its lines. So that was an ugly day back then. So yeah, Jim Lee is still in charge, and it seems like his birthday was just a day after. So I bet that was a gift. But yeah, so he was being transitioned out, but then it was scorched by well-placed sources earlier in this morning, according to an August 11th birthday report. And yeah, this is part of some new 2-year plan they're going to do after the Bloodbath was over and done with. Um, so they're part of this new initiative to try and build back up or something like that. I don't know what exactly is going on, and this is like insane overall. It's a pretty bad situation all around, and I feel sorry for all the people that were let go. Like, apparently a lot of people were left. Like, there were, let's see, like this in this new, like, one of the other things is that DC Comics was dropping mm, this. So yeah, one of the biggest things was involving the DC Collectibles stuff. You know, the people who made the statues and whatnot. So yeah, that's gone. Hopefully they can think of something, because I just recently bought the Satana figure over there. So, and it's a well designed one. It's by Art Germ, you know, that talented artist with all those awesome covers. And one of the things they kept talking about was like the initiative involving the rise of digital stuff and lowering the more involvement of physical distribution, which is stupid because everyone loves still physical distribution. I still get covers and whatnot. I'm like, yeah. Um, as Blinko previously reported, DC's title count has been reduced, both monthly books and collections, while a relatively fewer number of editors have gone. Almost all assistant editors and associate editors have retained their jobs and may see promotions. Those editors who are still in jobs will now have to edit the collections of monthly books they already work on, rather than use the collected editions department. Archival projects seen as more labor intensive will be reduced or licensed out to the likes of Scott Dibben and IDW. One of the other highlights is that on this also mentioning that the person was also told, I believe, cool, that all exclusive creator contracts that covers the likes of Dan Abnett, the writer of the Titans books, Tom King. We all remember Tom King and what he got victimized for by the internet. And Brian Michael Bendis, you know, the guy who's trying to destroy Superman under the orders of Dan Didio, who's no longer around. So, yeah. And there was a town hall meeting, and one of the biggest changes that was being talked about that was going on is, well, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, because now they started bringing them up again, probably because of the show, but it's still a coincident timing. But yeah, people were pissed at the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy book ending, where they were trying to like get rid of the relationship, because of course. But yeah, like I was against the idea of like, hey, let's just get rid of the relationship and try and move on with our lives and act like it never happened. Yeah, so long as it's part of a story to get them back together. But it seemed like DC at the time was trying to get rid of them as a couple, so they could get back to Poison Ivy being a villain instead of an anti-hero, or at the very least in the middle ground. So yeah, there's more stuff. Like, one of the other things that's being talked about was that these were being canceled. Old, but it's hard. Like, okay, so DC Comics had announced listed cancellations with Harley Quinn, Batgirl, Red Hood Outlaw, Batman the Outsiders, Justice League Odyssey, and more. This was previously before the implosion happened. And then with the November 2020 solicitations, they've added Hawkman, which was, I heard, doing pretty damn well with fans. Hellblazer, John Constantine, Teen Titans, Young Justice, and Suicide Squad to that list. So while Aquaman remains up in the air, which, yeah, that's ending soon. Um, so, like, originally this was supposed to be the end of the fourth generation of DC Comics and beginning of the 5G initiative, but you know that's clearly not happening. So, yeah, Hellblazer is over, and I've been reading that. I thought it was good so far. So, yeah. So, and now we got this whole Martin Javins and Michelle Wills. Those are editors in chiefs of DC Comics. DC Comics publishing numbers will be cut from 20% to 25%. Jim Lee and DC Comics' 2-year plan for global digital dominance. Apparently, it seems like DC Comics is going to publish John Ridley's 5G Luke Fox as Batman comic after all. DC Comics sold 300,000 copies of Three Jokers, so that's hopeful on them. Then they start talking about like how ex-publisher Dan DiDio is writing for Image Comics, which is, yeah. Yeah, so more stuff been going on. The writer of John Constantine is pissed off. It's a pretty bad situation all around from what I'm seeing, and I have no idea what's going to happen. DC Universe, the app, is not doing so well since they started moving all their content to the HBO Max service. Like when it was mentioned how like the clock was ticking for that when HBO Max was launched and when the Warner Brother deal happened with AT&T, and yeah, it's pretty bad all around. I have no idea what's gonna happen now. Like one of the things is involving 2-year dominance with this initiative, this new 2-year plan, and I'm curious to know what happens if this plan backfires. Let's see, where can I find that? Okay. Let's see. When someone was asked that said this, where do you see DC in 2 years? And Jim Lee stated, "You'll definitely see more international content." And Lee headed up the incredibly delayed Batman Europa project and was instrumental behind the Italian comic book crossovers in recent years. But it's also notable that Marvel Comics has been pursuing such a stag more effectively and widely in recent years. He continues, sometimes that takes the flow of content that we take here and translate and sell in other markets, but we want to partner with creators in various territories and unlock stories that feel authentic to their marketplaces with characters that can embrace as their own and look for opportunities to take those characters and seed them throughout our mythology. And Bleak also reported there would be a major increase in digital comic book stores from DC, including a now abandoned Batman comic by Warren Ellis and Declan whatevers. Jim Lee also confirms an increase in digital first or digital only content, citing the Injustice digital comic book as a prime example and whatnot. And someone pointed out that while the sales are good for digital content of comics, the trade paperbacks and physical floppy comics are still selling better than them. So this is like cutting their resources down. But yeah. Yeah, now, this is just bad all around. Like, this was a week before fandom was supposed to happen, and now fandom's been split in two. One's going to happen tomorrow, and the other one's going to happen in September, in the middle of it. And now people don't know what the hell's going to happen. And I will be curious to know where they're going to go with this, but yeah, just bad all around. I'm really sorry for a lot of people that got terminated, and like some people hope that maybe this will lead to a tighter, more narrative controlling universe. And while that's hopeful, at the same time, it's like the DC universe is already struggling and whatnot in terms of its continuity. This doesn't really help much, probably. And now it's like recently they started mentioning Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn again, as you can see here. Like speaking in a more past tense. But I'm thinking to myself, well, at least they're acknowledging that. Oh, by the way, she disappeared. So where is she again? But yeah, bad situation all around. Hoping things work out for everyone. Let's hope DC can get back some of their talent because we both know because we all know Marvel's going to go after them soon. And let's hope, even despite the situation surrounding certain things, that DC Fandom Night 1 of 2 will be a success. But we'll see. I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm hoping things turn out so well, and I'm hoping that, we get Harley Quinn season 3 announced and whatnot. But yeah, it's just gonna be crazy all around. So those were our thoughts on the DC Bloodbath issue going on. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. If you like, comment, subscribe, and donate to for more.